Ben Domenech is in the house. He is, of course, editor-at-large for the Spectator, Fox News contributor. And like me, I think, an admirer of Mitch McConnell. Ben, welcome. Good morning. I was lucky enough to be on Special Report Wednesday night, so I was able to inform everyone Mitch McConnell is the best legislative leader the Republicans have had in either house in my lifetime, and I'm significantly older than you are. He's a genius. People on our team sometimes don't recognize it, but they're going to miss Mitch McConnell. What do you say?
Well, I certainly think they will, Hugh. I mean, the point that I think is a very unquestionable one is that within the last 25 years, the mark that Mitch made on the Republican Party and the Republican approach in Washington is immeasurable compared to others. And certainly there have been one example after another where he has made a choice that was questioned at the time. Maybe for ideological reasons, maybe for strategic reasons, but that ultimately came to fruition in much the way that he expected. And that's not something that you can say about a lot of people who are in the business of politics. And I think that in his case, he made some bad choices at various points, I think, in failing to recognize some of the opportunities that could be seized as it related to the rise of populism within the Republican coalition. But really, other than that, I think that you really would have to look hard to find any kind of weaknesses in the approach that he used, which was just time and again found to be well-founded, and as much just slag that he got both from right and left is you can kind of come to appreciate the kind of arrows and slings that he had to withstand in order to endure as long as he did. Now he's choosing to go out on his own terms, and I think you compare this to great quarterbacks and that kind of thing. Choosing to go out on your own terms at your own timing is not something that a lot of people get to do. And when he's done it, I think you can look back and look at his legacy being one that is not just of course, confined to the bounds of the Senate, but is right across the street at the Supreme Court and is throughout the court system.
Well, that's the high point. There are a lot of high points in the McConnell career, but holding open the vacancy created by Justice Scalia's untimely death, the next day coming out and saying no hearings, no votes. That made it not particular to Merrick Garland. It boxed in Barack Obama. It made it the issue of 2016. It got Trump elected. Former President Mitch clash a lot, but there's just no denying over this long career he's extraordinary.
And I want people to understand how much people are going to forget how much strength of will it took to do that at the time, just given the pressure that he withstood. Not even from just people on the other side of the aisle, but people within his own party who thought that putting Merrick Garland on the court would have been a better option, especially considering all the people who assumed that Donald Trump would lose. We forget completely how much crap he was getting from those people who were saying this is a complete mistake. And now that we've learned everything that we've known since then about Merrick Garland, it would have been a huge mistake to put him on the court.
And a 6-3 originalist majority. I've worked for it my whole life. Now, second topic. This court, this McConnell court, this Trump court, has accepted the immunity case. They're not going to rule for complete immunity, Ben, but I did not want the D.C. Circuit opinion to be the guiding law of the land. This is about all presidents going forward, and we need a full-blown opinion from originalists on what is intended here. What do you say?
Absolutely. And I think that this is not a situation that could have gone further along without having the court weigh in on this question, because it is a question where we need clarity. This is I'm sure that you probably are geeking out on this, Hugh, on some degree, because this is an opportunity. I know among my legal friends, the many constitutional attorneys that I know, which is something that you end up getting close to if you live in the D.C. swamp area. You get to know all these people who basically are rolling out all this knowledge that they haven't had reason to use or deploy.
And Nixon v. Fitzgerald doesn't come up very much in conversation. So once
exactly. So it's led to some interesting conversations and debates, and I think that this is going to be a really key moment for the court. But to see the media reaction,
the meltdown
to this,
my God,
absolute meltdown, and that just to me it gives away the store. It completely says to everyone who's paying any kind of attention, This is all about partisanship. It's all about the individual of Trump. It's not about the principle of the thing at all. And you just are now concerned because you can look at the polls, you can look at the situation in swing states across the country, and you are starting to get very, very worried about the ability of Joe Biden to actually stand on his own 2 feet and beat Donald Trump come November. You needed this safety valve. You needed this ability to stop the former president, and now they've really, I think, admitted that essentially publicly. Now that they've gone and freaked out about this schedule, and I don't think they're going to be very happy with the outcome of this. And it was a risk that they took on from the get-go.
Well, Jack Smith went to the court and said, "You must hear this." Now they're hearing it, and people are mad like Jack Smith. Ben, I want to make sure I get to one subject. I'd never heard of Shane Gillis, right? I stopped watching Saturday Night Live when I had babies back in like the 80s, right? So I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since the 80s. Parents go to bed. But my son said, "Oh, read Ben's piece that you wrote in the Spectator about Shane Gillis. You spotted this a long time ago. He's huge now. How did you know he was going to be huge?"
Well, I will say this: Shane has become a friend since I profiled him 7 years ago, and we're close. And I was at his I was at his taping of his Netflix special. You can actually see me cheering at one point in the crowd, and I've gotten to know him a good bit since then. Look, here's the thing that people get wrong about Shane. Shane isn't even like a rock rib, sort of MAGA hat wearing.
Oh, absolutely not.
Guy.
No,
he just comes from a very culturally different place in America. Being a guy who wanted to go to West Point. A football player, a guy who he thinks of things through the lens of the views of his Fox News watching dad, and things like that. And
stop right there. That's the bit my son sent me. Fox News dad and Fox News mom. You want the former, you don't want the latter. She's smoking cigarettes.
She smokes cigarettes with that. But here's the thing about Shane. He just appreciates a different part of the country than all these people who went to Harvard and end up in the comedy world. And he got canceled in a way that was not only did he just do I believe that his return to SNL and hosting the show that he did, not only does that mark the end of a certain type of cancel culture within the comedy world, I think that he shows that it's not just that, it's that the cancellation made him so much bigger than he ever would have been without it. They made a huge mistake, the leftists who tried to do that. And frankly, it's been great for comedy, and he is a river to his people. There's a lot of people who have come up around him who he's helped promote, comedians who are in the Austin scene and frankly coming more and more up in the New York and East Coast area who he has helped promote. And it's been just an astonishing thing. I was at Magooby's Joke House in Timonium, Maryland. In fact, just this past week, before the day before Shane did his show, to profile another comedian who he has highlighted, who he helped produce the special of, Sam Talent, who is a left of center guy, but he's also the same thing, comes from a different world. He comes, he's a completely different character in terms of his approach to comedy than this hoity-toity leftist scene that we've.
Ben, I got to tell you, I have a rule on this show that I've broken 3 times. I broke it with Tim Conway, with Jeff Foxworthy, and I'll think of her, Tracy Ullman, and never interview a comedian. It's like shaking hands with a hurricane. Never do it.
Yeah.
They don't care what you ask. They don't. They have no idea what a break is. They just do riffs, right?
Yeah.
And he's awfully funny. But I started to watch a Shane Gillis special with 3 former Trump senior administration officials, and we were all over 50. So I mean, the humor is just a little rough for us older guys, right?
It is, but I'll tell you this: what you're going to like is right after that happened, right after the SNL appearance happened, Netflix announced that they're picking up a pilot that he did several years ago called Tires, about guys in a tire shop. And you will like it when Netflix eventually, puts it out there.
When you talk to him, would you please tell him to do a monologue for old guys who cannot handle the idea? His Baghdadi bit, how they got Baghdadi. best Trump impersonation I've heard in a long time, but you can't play it for anyone ever. But it's, my goodness, it was funny.
You know, you say you can't play it for anybody, and then I literally have an entire text thread that's just me sharing that with my buddy.
Oh, you see, that's because you're a young dad, not over 50. But I can't listen to that without laughing and saying, I shouldn't. I got to go to confession now. All right, Ben Domenech at the Spectator, Fox News. B. Domenech. Hope I see you on the Fox set soon.